Right now I'm going to introduce a very, very special guest. You may have read about him in the game, and he actually taught Style a lot of the stuff that he knows, and he actually had a major part in training him. He's been doing this for nearly 10 years, and he was a big inspiration to me when I was actually first getting into this stuff. He's brilliant and also a little bit elusive, and we managed to get him here today. Please welcome Intense.
All right, well, thanks for having me.
Yeah. So we're just going to do this real casually then. And I'm just going to let you take it away.
Well, let me tell you guys a little bit about where I'm at now, or where I've come from. Like you were saying, I kind of got into the whole quote pickup type of thing because, like a lot of you guys, I was like, no clue what to do and, didn't really have that area of my life kind of taken care of. So actually I think it was around 1988, I first heard this radio ad for, it was
Ross?
Yeah. For his stuff. I ordered called the 1-800 number, got the book, then kind of read through it and didn't really take much away from it except one key point, and that was I make no apologies for my desires as a man. I walk through the world without apology. And just having that kind of bold purpose, that's really the only thing that I took away from that at that time. I kind of put that away, had some relationships, kind of forgot about everything. And then about 2000, kind of started getting back into it. Met up with a friend of mine at the time, Swing Cat, and him and I used to go out Santa Monica, 3rd Street Promenade, basically just talking to people. Met up with RJ, started hanging out with him, met Style, and the three of us would all pretty much be a team. We'd all go out and just hang out. Basically, when we hung out, it wasn't about meeting women. It was more about just us hanging out, just as friends. Met Mystery, and I was around for that whole Project Hollywood thing, and it's kind of interesting times. You can read about in Neil's book. But anyway, since then, I've kind of mellowed out. Not really too involved in that scene, kind of moved past that to where, just looking for something more substantial, and kind of mellowed out. So that's kind of where I'm at now.
Cool. So, what are we learning today?
Well, I was going to talk about, now we're talking about conversation.
Yeah.
I'm sure you guys have covered a lot of the basics. The way I like to think about things is think of them in terms of the big picture first, and then focus in on the details and how to make it work. Some people focus in on the details and build the big picture from the details, but for me, I have to see the big picture and then focus in. So the big picture view, when you interact with someone, when you have a conversation with someone, what is the purpose? Why are you having a conversation with a person? And to me, that intent, that purpose is what guides the whole interaction. It's kind of like if you come into a situation where you meet someone and you look at them and you think, wow, this is someone that is amazing. What can I find out about this person that's interesting? What can I give to this person? How can I make a difference, no matter how small, so that they walk away from this experience thinking, wow, or walk away with something. How can I add to this person's life? If you come into an interaction with that energy will guide the interaction. And it will guide the things you say, the things you do, your body language, your state, your energy level. And when there's a connection with someone, when you talk to someone and when you actually build a connection, through that connection they start to feel the same things that you're feeling. Anyway, so that's the overall intent and purpose should guide the interaction. The other thing is that very much connection is context-based, which means, like, let's say you have a connection with people through your work. That's kind of a work-based context. So that basically defines the connection. Now, there are ways that you can move beyond it, and we can talk about some of those ways. But let's say that you meet someone and the context of the meeting is a date. Let's say you've been set up by a friend, or you met someone and decided to go out. The context of the meeting is a date, so you're anticipating what could come next in the relationship, and that context is what defines that potential relationship. Does that make sense?
Totally. Yeah, it's like, if you meet someone, that explains why it's so hard to break out of the friend zone, because if you enter in that context, that's the context. Same thing with a working thing. If you start off knowing someone from work, you're a coworker. And so sometimes it could be very difficult moving beyond that, but there's certainly ways of doing it. I don't know if you're going to teach us some ways.
And that's exactly, like, if you guys have noticed, it's not that people are rigid, categories are rigid, people are flexible. But have you ever noticed, like, let's say you have a friend who's always been a friend, and it's so much harder for that person to break out of that category into the more than friends, versus, let's say you meet someone who you met in the context of being more than friends, and then in that context it's so much harder for that person to just go back and be just a friend. So it's categorizations that, we put people into categories.
And that's why it can be so powerful. That this is something I've noticed as I learn this, and that when you meet a woman off a cold approach, either on the street or in a coffee shop, something like that, it can be extremely powerful, and it really sets up the context in a romantic way, like right off the bat. And it usually leads to a really, really good relationship because it's immediately in that context.
Yeah, and it depends on also where the other person is at too. There oftentimes in our lives we go through our day and our daily routine kind of on autopilot, and there's very few moments in the day where we're actually fully in the moment, experiencing everything that's going on around us and completely engaged in what's going on. And so a lot of times, when you meet someone, if you can break that autopilot mode and get them engaged to where they are actually in the moment, experiencing what's going on right now, then that makes all the difference in the world too. Yeah. So, and that's another thing. You guys are learning a lot of new things when you go out there, when you're actually talking, to women, to your dates. Don't be stuck in your own head. Let the underlying purpose and your intent guide the interaction, because if you're stuck in your own head and you're thinking about what you're going to say next, and you're thinking about, let's do this role play, or let's do this certain technique, you're not going to be in the moment and engaged, and they're less likely to be that engaged as well. And so, so step out of your own head and be fully engaged in the moment. Notice, everything that's going on with the person.
Right. Exactly.
Anyway,
cool. So I'm excited to, I feel like I'm about to learn something new because, most of the stuff I've talked about so far has been, my own stuff. So it's exciting to learn something new.
Well, so conversation, I'm sure you guys have gone over like the mechanics of it. There's just a basic way of conversing with someone where, you say something, they process it and reflect it back to you. You process what they said, reflect it back to them. They process that, reflect it back to you, and so it's like a back and forth type of thing. What you have to kind of keep in mind is that on the surface, that's what's going on. Underneath that, you're building an emotional state. You're bringing forth certain feelings from them, certain emotions and states. And they're the words, but then there's the meaning behind the words. And there's different levels of communication that goes on. For instance, you can have the words and just, be talking about the weather, but then on a very different level, there's the meaning, like, why is this person talking to me? What's the context of the interaction? Are we out on a date? And, that kind of frames the context of what's going on. And then you also have another level of communication, which is like the physical, kinesthetic communication. And that's like your body language, like how you're sitting, how you're interacting with the person, if you're moving closer, kind of, touching, that's another different level that clearly communicates the purpose of the interaction, no matter what your words are saying. Ideally, it should communicate the purpose of the interaction.
Right.
Yeah, if you're doing it right. But, so anyway, so the basics of conversation, reflecting back and forth. There's also different levels of connection. Like if you think about what conversation actually does, is you're building a connection with someone. It's what you're focused on is what's going on between you. The mood, the states that are coming from the person, that what you're actually building between you. That's what the real purpose of the interaction is. And so you always want to be conscientious of what kind of feelings you're evoking, what kind of states are coming from the person, and what you're saying. For instance, you wouldn't want to necessarily talk about like a totally down, horrible topic to someone on a first date, because you don't want to elicit a horrible state in someone, in a potential partner.
Right, exactly.
So those are some things to keep in mind. When we're going to get into some exercises, I think the way that I view connection is there are different levels of connection. On the very most superficial level, you have just what goes on. You talk about the weather, talking about what's on TV, movies, what's going on politics, celebrity gossip. That's all superficial communication. And for a large part, that's probably what we do most of the time with people. And that's kind of our autopilot type of response when we talk to people. If you go deeper, there's the social communication and the social level of connection. This is the kind of connection that you have when you're with your friends, when you're with your family. You talk about things that you would only talk about with your friends. You might talk about And this level is based on commonalities, what you have in common with someone. And a lot of the social level is context-based as well. Like, let's say you're at work, and of course you're going to be just talking about work type of things with most people, and that's because that's the social context. Work and then superficial stuff. And let's say you have friends, you went to the same high school, you'll be talking about, people you went to high school with, because that's what you have in common. And so you're just sharing commonalities. That's basically the social level. The next level down from that is the personal level. And this is where things get deeper. And this is where you find true connection with the person that you're with in relationships. The personal level of connection is where you're sharing your hopes, what you want out of life, what's important to you, things that you look forward to in the future, your dreams. And it's on this level of connection that I think most people want to get to, but some people don't have the understanding or tools, or maybe have never even been there before with someone else. And an ideal relationship, there should be a connection on the personal level, where two people can open up and share, what they want out of life, what's important to them. And what's more in a relationship is that two people should give to each other's lives and be more because they're together, add to each other's lives. Basically be better off because they're together. There's a lot of relationships out there where people bring out the worst in each other. I think part of that, how we were talking about that self-image to live up to. People may see the worst in each other and therefore bring it out of each other in relationships. When you're with someone that you truly care about, it's like both people should see the best in each other, the potential in each other and in the relationship, and by doing that, bring out the best in each other as well.
I agree with that. That's good.
So, anyway, those are the different levels of connection, and we're going to practice each one of those levels.
Okay, so the first level is
superficial.
So
I want you guys to, why don't we have any of you guys just talk superficial talk.
Okay.
Pair up.
Okay, we're going to probably do one at a time, okay, so that everyone can listen, we can give feedback and stuff. Because if everyone talks, it's just gonna... How's the pimp?
Good.
So, superficial. You're not allowed to go any deeper.
So no
All right.
commonalities.
No commonalities, just real boring stuff.
Hi, Joanne.
Hi.
How are you?
Good.
How's your day going?
Good.
Yeah. How was work?
All right. Nothing really exciting happened. How about you?
Kind of like same old, you know.
Yeah.
Like boss is still an asshole.
Same old, same old.
Same old. Co-workers are even worse. But
I'm going to give you some non-conversational feedback. Get your hand off of your face.
as I was saying, yeah, same old stuff. Boss is asshole.
This is really strange weather we've been having, huh? Hot,
Yeah.
cold, rainy, hot, cold, rainy.
Yeah, you know, did you did your electricity get blown out?
I actually was all right, but I know that some people have just been having the roughest time with that stuff.
Yeah, I got blown out twice and had to throw out all the stuff in my refrigerator.
Oh
It was like
no. That's a problem.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Well, considering I'm just like this microwave kind of guy, you know, just
Oh,
like
so
that.
it's a
That
bunch
kind of
of
like
TV dinners.
yeah, it just kind of like blows my dinner all away. So
Well, now you'll start having to cook some fresh stuff, right?
yeah, I guess so.
Cool. That's enough.
So yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
See, as you can see, superficial conversation is very easy. It's just flows superficially.
I almost felt like did you almost feel like it was hard not to connect?
Because we've been connecting.
Yeah. You almost feel like you had to resist the temptation to that and say, oh yeah, me too, you know, I was doing it, and kind of relate to each other, right? It's almost like you have to resist to stay in that superficial level.
At least we know we're in good habits.
So you guys have a clear picture then what superficial communication is like. I mean, it's probably what most people do most of the time. It's just autopilot type stuff. The next level is the social level, and that's where you focus on the commonalities, what you have in common with a person. And you know, with conversational threads, you can veer off on different topics, but if you ever stall, you go back to the commonalities. You know, it always gives you something you can go back to when you have things in common with someone. And with conversation is when you have commonalities with someone, you know.
And I like to think about not just commonalities like we both like hiking or something, but more we see something the same way. We share a certain feeling or opinion about something in life.
Right. Well, what you do also with commonalities is once you start stacking commonalities and finding more and more things that you have in common with someone, it turns into this us versus them type of thing. Automatically. When you have commonalities. I think everyone kind of draws a circle around themselves that may include like their family, their close family, and you know, some people have bigger circles that include a lot of people, but basically it's that space where it's like, this is me, this is you know, you've let people into this space, your personal life, your social life. So when you find so many commonalities and stack them, it's like you automatically get into this us, and it's both of you looking out at the world together with the same perspective.
Right. That's cool. So we're going to do a practice with that one. All right. Do you two want to do it?
That's fine. Cool. You remind me of like
Commonalities. So you can start on the superficial level, but very quickly get to a level where you're finding things in common, whether it's just, you know, hobbies and things that you both enjoy doing, or if you have like the same perspective, or even common experiences, like when we were talking about the watching the movie in bed thing. You know, it's like a connection of oh yeah, it's exactly like that.
And if you notice, if you see two people who have first met each other and they're kind of progressing through the stages, you know, you could see how they'll go through the superficial stage, and then they very quickly go to the stage where it's like, oh yeah, I do that too, or yeah, oh yeah, I'm from there too, or I do that, or yeah, I do that too, or they're kind of finding, you know, all the similarities and all the commonalities that they share, because they're seeking to form that connection. So.
Hey Zoe, how's it going?
I'm good.
Good. Yeah, I'm doing all right. This weather's been crazy, huh?
Yeah.
It's
definitely.
like last night it was like raining like nuts. It was like nonstop. Yeah.
At least it breaks up the cold.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So let me ask you a question. What's your favorite restaurant?
It kind of changes all the time. I really just love getting takeout and bringing it back home.
Yeah. Right. Totally.
Just eating in your own home, it's nothing better than that. It's just the most comfortable.
Right. No, I totally know what you mean. Like, it's like you want a variety of, you know, different things. You know.
Yeah.
Right. You don't want the same thing every time, whatever. But
Yeah.
no, I totally know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that because you can get anything delivered here in the city, and so
Right.
it's something different every night.
Right. Yeah.
Cool. Good job. I'd give you 1 point of feedback. So let me ask you a question.
Okay.
Just ask her the question.
Oh, you want me to do it or?
No.
So instead of saying, can I ask you, just say, yeah. And another thing, if you do the same thing, if it's something you share, you can just say, oh yeah, I do that too, and you know, or if it's something in your past that you guys have in common, you know, can just say, oh, that's exactly the same thing that happened to me, you know, that kind of thing.
Okay, so third level.
Okay, third level is the deeper level, and it's more of the personal level. What I'll actually do is I'll kind of demonstrate it. There are certain key questions that that you want to get to. You know, I saw before that you guys talked about certain themes, or where, like, you talked about passion, or you talked about spontaneity, those kind of themes. The way that I think about different states is that all states can be grouped as either attraction, high energy type states, or comfort, rapport, connection based states. Two very different energies. On one hand, you have spontaneity, excitement, adventure, you know, all the things that make your heart race. And then on the other hand, you have comfort, which is like all the things that make you feel connected, make you feel safe, trust, honesty, dependability, responsibility, all of those things that you know, make you feel comfortable with someone. And you have to really have a balance of both of those. I like to have a balance in a relationship, but also just in an interaction, because if all you're talking about is comfort-based states, you know, you can feel comfortable with a friend, and you know, comfort is, if it's all comfort, then that's just like a friend. If you have attraction, high energy, you know, that type of states, and it's just that without any of the comfort, then it's like a fling, you know, or like a, you know, one night stand, or that kind of thing, where it's all just attraction based. So you have to kind of have a balance of both of those. And you know, when you're talking with someone, be conscientious of those two energies underneath the states that are going on. Does that make sense to you guys? I see a confused look on your face. What? Oh, you're just listening? Okay. I mean, does that make sense? What do you guys think? Women's feedback?
I think, well, women's feedback. I mean, you know, I think the balance is key, and in fact, you know, if I'm with a girl, it's, you know, it's almost intuitive. You know, you can feel it going back and forth.
Exactly. Yeah.
But just be conscious. You know, maybe in the beginning you need to be aware of it. Say, okay, this is a more comfort-based state, and this is more of like an attraction-based state. Exactly. But you know, it's good to keep them guessing too. Yeah. Like always go back and forth.
You know, another thing is that it keeps the relationship from staling out too. Right. You know, if you get too much in the comfort mode, you got to break it up with some attraction mode. You know, if you're too much in the attraction mode, you know, you got to break it up with some comfort mode.
Right.
You know.
So I didn't mean to interrupt. Did you have something to say?
I was just agreeing.
Yeah. Okay.
And you know, it's the same thing. You can bring those same two energies and apply it to every level of the relationship as well, not just the emotional level, but to the physical level. Like with sex, if sex was just slow, comforting, and connection all the time, that could probably get boring pretty quick, right? If sex was all attraction, you know, adventurous, crazy, exciting, yeah, all the time, that would get boring too. And so really you have to have a mixture of both of those energies, and that's how you keep things from staling out. So anyway, I think I got off topic, but I was going to go over the deeper levels of communication and how do you get there. We've talked about states, and the way I get to a deeper level of communication is through what's called elicitation. Elicitation is basically a model where instead of you basically monopolizing a conversation and telling the person what to feel through the stories that you're telling them. Because, the stories, everything that you talk about is going to influence their state and their feelings. Instead of you monopolizing them, what you do is you ask it from them. And in order for them to tell you about it, they have to go into that feeling. There's a term for it, it's called a transderivational search. And basically what it is that if I were to ask someone to describe a feeling, in order for them to describe it, they would have to go into the feeling to describe it. Does that make sense? And so you're not monopolizing the conversation, but you are guiding it through the questions that you're asking.
This is good, and it's interesting because do you guys notice that he's kind of tying together a lot of the things that we did yesterday with both. Well, first of all, the negotiator thing where you kind of avoid the negative topics and get on positive topics, right? And then also getting her to describe feelings, like we did yesterday, is a transderivational search where you're getting her to actually go into that state to describe that state. So by combining the two of those things, you can kind of choose the type of emotion that you want her to experience with you.
Exactly. And given your intent and your purpose of wanting to add something to someone's life and have it be a positive experience, when you're listing these states, it's like you're almost going into these states as well, because there's a connection. Whatever one person feels, the other person feels too, if there's a very deep connection going on. So let's say, to talk about deeper topics, to get from that superficial, social, and then deeper level, what I would do is there's two key questions. Those questions are, how do you know that you have this? And then what is it like when you have this? Another thing to also be conscientious of is people will give you certain key words and pick up on these key words that they use, because those are the words that they use for themselves to bring that state forth. Does that make sense? Okay, so if I were to ask you, what is something that you really enjoy about being with someone?
Laughing.
Laughing?
Yeah.
What is it that laughing gives you?
I guess it's a release, but it's a thing to bond over if you're laughing at something specific.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of a commonality.
So when you're laughing with someone, when you're feeling like a bonding and having a commonality, what is it like for you?
It's engaging, it's fun, it feels good.
Feels good?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, you guys see that? How, I'll do a couple more. But basically, sometimes people will give you their criteria. The way I think about an elicitation is you have a state, which is something like a state or a value, like let's say spontaneity, or let's say connection, because that's a state as well. And then there's criteria, which is how do they know that they have a connection, the criteria. So I think what she gave me was her criteria. She's laughing, and that's how she knows she feels good, right? And then there's the end value, which is what it all ultimately gives you. So let me ask you, what is something that you want out of life?
I would love a large family.
Large family? What is it about a large family that you would like?
I like that sense of togetherness and comfort and sharing love.
So comfort and sharing love and togetherness are important to you then. And the way that you know that you have it is by having a large family and having people to share it with.
Having people to share it with, definitely.
And so when you're with people to share it with and you feel, a sense of love and comfort, what does that ultimately give you?
Happiness? Joy?
Okay. Cool. That's good.
Do you guys see that? Does that make sense?
So in a sense, what you're
So
doing
how did
is-
you feel actually when I was asking you those questions?
Nice. Thinking about having a big family.
Yeah? Okay.
So he's, in a sense, what you're doing is you're eliciting the very first question is, what do you want out of life? So what you're getting is a very, very core value.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
And so what you're also doing is you're getting the criteria for that value.
How they know they have that.
How they know they have that. And then when you feed it back to them, you actually put them in that state.
Exactly. They have to go into that state to think about what it would be like to have that. And that key question, what would it be like, or what is it like when you have that? That to think about the answer to that, they have to actually think about, and then they actually feel that way.
Right.
So it's kind of like you're helping that person to fulfill one of their life values.
Right.
Yep. So, okay, I'll do one with you. So what is something that you enjoy? That you really, really enjoy? What are you passionate about?
I really, really enjoy children and teaching.
Children and teaching? So what is it about children and teaching that you enjoy?
Just having them trust you, because not a lot of teachers, I think, know the importance of trust, because you're telling them the truth and they rarely question you, and a child could ask you a question you might not know. I don't remember a teacher ever saying, I don't know. But one of my biggest things as a teacher is I say, I don't know, because I want my kids to know I'm not going to lie to them.
Right.
I'm going to go find it out. And I'll tell them eventually, but I don't know right now.
So in your teaching then, when you're able to build a sense of trust with your children and you can feel that they look to you that way, what is it like for you?
It's really gratifying. It just makes me really happy. It's so good to know that you can have that with another person, and what's great about teaching is you can have it with 20 people.
I admire teachers because teachers make such a huge, huge impact on kids. They don't even realize. I remember like my 4th grade teacher, and things that they said and did. But it's true. Teachers make such a huge impact you don't even realize. And also, it's like you may be that kid's only positive role model. They may not get that from their home. And so, you're kind of in that position to make such a huge difference in someone's life.
It's a good feeling, yeah.
Good.
So that's how to get to a deeper level. And as you can see, this is very real. None of it is fake. None of it is pre-scripted. It's just very real. It's just about, getting down to what really is important to the person.
Great.
Does that make sense?
Totally. You guys get it? We're going to let them practice.
Okay. You guys want to practice?
Okay. All right. We're going to have some fun with it.
Yep. Okay, who's going to go first?
Everyone's looking at me, so. Just to clarify, what you're
This is probably a level that you're not used to.
I've never done this before.
Yes. And it may be completely new and uncomfortable. And as you can see, I'm pacing here. Side note, but it may be something that's completely new and uncomfortable, but the more that you start to do it, the more you become familiar with it. And you'll notice that you'll just start interacting with people on a deeper level. Your relationships with other people will just be more real. Throughout our day-to-day experiences, we have interactions with people where we're just on autopilot mode, and we see people, they come and go, but it's very few moments where we actually connect with people. And once you learn how to connect with someone on a deeper level like this, it really makes a big difference in all your interactions.
It's not the time for the JFL technique.
What's the JFL?
Just fucking lie.
And again, this is the level of communication that people are really after in their relationships. A lot of couples are missing this. They are only interacting on the superficial and the social levels, But there's brief moments where they get to this kind of deep level.
They don't know how to do it consciously.
Exactly.
It just happens by accident sometimes, and sometimes they lose it and they don't know how to get back to it.
Exactly. And speaking of conscious, there's the whole idea of competence, where at the first stage of learning something is what's called unconscious incompetence, where you just aren't even aware of how bad you're messing up. On the second level of learning something is conscious incompetence, where now you're aware of it because you've seen it done the right way. On a third level is conscious competence, where you're actually making an effort and you're doing things the right way. And mastery is unconscious competence, where you don't even have to think about it anymore. It's just natural for you.
So, yeah, I'm sure you've gotten to that point. A lot of this stuff just kind of happens, and I find it, even though I've been teaching for a while, I still am surprised, that a lot of this stuff isn't intuitive. But I guess it's only because we've been doing it for like a long time. But there's people that always communicate on this level constantly.
Yeah. And you can't be deep all the time. Sometimes, like when I've been talking to someone, if things get too deep, you can feel it, and you may need to lighten up things and say,
Make a joke or something.
yeah, let's talk about the weather now. It's been getting kind of deep.
Right.
Right. That kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Do you want to just remind them of the steps, maybe?
Yeah. So the first step is ask the question, what's really important to you? Or what do you enjoy? Or what is your passion? Or what do you want out of life? What quality? And once you have that quality, you can say, how do you know that you have that? They may not give you the quality, they may give you the how do you know first, and then you feed that back into what does that give you, which is the quality. And then to get to the state where you're actually having them step into the state, the experience of it, the question is, what is it like when you this, and this? Does that make sense?
So Zoe, what do you enjoy most in life?
Just having free time, I think, at this point.
So what does that give you?
It's just a sense of freedom, just being able to wake up every day and not know exactly what you're going to do, but have it be anything that you could do.
Okay, so, right, I got that. So, how do I?
So when you have this sense of freedom, where you're able to wake up and do anything that you want to do, during the day, what does that give you? Or what is it like?
Okay. So when you have that sense of freedom and you get to do whatever you want to do, what is that like?
It's a lot of fun. Haven't you done it? You should
Actually
try
have,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
Okay.
Good.
Yep. So it's a deeper level. And it's feeding back what they say and reflecting it back. That's part of the, feeding back. You guys want to try it?
Hi, Joanne.
Hi.
Hi. So what do you find important in your life?
I really, right now at this moment in time, I find it important to be motivated and moving forward with my career.
So if you're motivated and moving forward in your career, what is that like? How does that...
It's good. It makes me feel like I'm accomplishing things, like a sense of value.
Uh-huh. So accomplishing things give you value.
Well, yes.
So being motivated gives you that kind of like valued feeling.
Well, I feel like I'm moving towards my ultimate goal, and that feels good.
Uh-huh. So that's great.
Yeah. It's nice to be active in pursuit of your ultimate goals.
Uh-huh.
I'm sure you can.
I can
empathize
definitely
with
relate.
that.
Yeah, absolutely. Should I pursue what our ultimate goal is, or should I leave that alone?
You could.
You're the Chinese pimp. We know her ultimate goal.
What is your ultimate goal?
Well, like I said before, I want to have a big family, but I definitely want to be successful in my career. So I would like to have my career more established before I can bring kids in.
Okay, so of the two, career and big family, which is better for you? Which is at least a little higher?
At this point in time,
Yeah.
my career. Because I want to be established before I have kids,
Uh-huh.
so I can provide them with everything.
Right. So it seems to me what you're saying is you like to feel accomplished, but you also like to provide for your family,
Right.
and you want to have a big nurturing.
Right. And I think having a kid right now would inhibit what I want to do.
Uh-huh.
So I have to wait.
So that's great.
Yeah.
Good. Good job.
Yeah, that's good. What were your feelings? How did you feel?
Good. Open.
Open? Do you feel like it was a deeper level of
I do.
communication?
I mean, I would probably share that information with everyone or anyone who asked, but it was better than the.
But he asked.
He asked, but it was better than the weather conversation.
So Patty, what is it that you want out of life?
Everything.
Everything. like what?
I think it's really important for me to be happy. I just want to make sure that I get everything I need to be happy and do everything that I want to do to be happy with myself and with everything around me.
Is it more like freedom to do things that'll make you happy?
I don't think it's freedom. I think it's making sure I accomplish all the things I want to accomplish.
And
So I guess it's not so much freedom. I guess it's success, maybe. Yeah.
and how does that success? How would that make you feel?
Slow down. She's still saying the things I want to accomplish, right? It's not freedom. It's find out what those things are.
And also she talked about being happy. My question would be, how do you know that you're happy? What do you need to have in your life to be happy?
What do you need to have in your life to be happy?
Good friends, people around me that love me, and I think a good career.
And so she listed 3 things, and then just list all 3 back. When you have this, this, and this, What is it like?
So, what is it like for you when you have a good career and friends?
I think it's everything. You finally have everything. And I guess that's a great feeling, like you're on top of the world.
Cool.
Yep. So how did you feel?
That was a good question. Because I do want, like, everything. And that just evokes a lot because that's such a big question. Like, what do you want out of life? Everybody wants everything out of life.
It's an important question.
Yeah. It's really evoking. Like, right away I was like sitting up and I was like, well, I can't even tell you what I want because I want so much.
Yeah, and the thing is that some people don't even know what they want, or it isn't even really clear to them how, until they actually have to sit down and until they're asked the question, what do I need to have this? And then, then they start thinking about it, what they need to have, and it kind of gives them a pathway to what they ultimately want out of life. Tells them where to go.
Like I notice, like when they're accessing those feelings, that they use certain like hand gestures. And
Exactly. Right.
Is there any effect, like when you kind of mirror that?
Exactly. You'll notice, and this kind of gets into like some of the nonverbal stuff, but you'll notice that when people feel certain states, unconsciously they'll make certain gestures, they'll do certain things.
They'll assume certain body language.
Exactly. And when there's a true connection, when there's a sense of rapport, you'll actually be mirroring the same things back to them. You'll be sitting the same way they're sitting, using the same gestures, that kind of thing. Yeah. So, anyway, that's how to take things to